Hey, what is up, everybody? I am back and feeling a lot better in the noggin. Today we are going to be talking about Lightroom CC, specifically Lightroom CC for your phone. Let's get going. What I'm most excited about with Lightroom CC is not just that it's a color correction program, but actually the camera. Let me just walk you guys through some of the settings and what makes this such a great camera. Right off the bat, at the very top, if you guys can see, it says DNG on mine, but if I tap that, I can switch between JPEG or DNG. Now, if you don't know, DNG is digital negative, and that is a raw format. You get a lot more information in a DNG file. You can edit it like a RAW file on your computer and on your phone, which is great. You are upping the quality of the photos that you were taking. You're able to capture more of those highlights and more of those lows and really process the colors after the fact. I would switch this to DNG and then never look back. I'm gonna hit these three dots right here. I've already set it to 1:1 square ratio, but if you click on the ratio, you can do 16:9, you can do 3:2, you can do 4:3. I'm pretty specifically gonna take some photos for Instagram. If you saw any of my earlier posts, you know that I like sticking to the 1:1 format for Instagram. And then the grid's fantastic too, because again, if you saw any of my other videos, like the video on my 3 favorite apps for Instagram photos, I just kind of eyeballed putting things in the rule of thirds area, but right here I can turn on these grids. I can do the golden ratio, or I can just do this straight rule of thirds grid right here. I can toss on this level. You can see as I turn, you can see that there's a level in the middle of my phone, and I can tilt up and down. And what you can't feel is there's even haptic feedback. So when I'm dead centered, all of a sudden my phone gives me this little click. There's a timer, I'm not gonna go into it, but we all know what a photo timer is. There's this is great, this little thing, show highlight clipping. This is something I wish the regular camera had on this phone, which is that I can get zebra stripes for things that are clipping. So anything that's stripy out there, I know I'm not gonna have any data. I'm not gonna have any information in that stripy area to play with. It's gonna be one solid color. And then if you go into this little gear, you can do a couple other things. Max screen brightness, I recommend turning this on. It just makes sure that your phone is always at 100% brightness when you're taking photos. Very great for outside. You guys know what geotagging photos is. If you want to have a tag for where you took the photo, you can leave that on. And then save unprocessed original. I've turned all 3 of those on. I'm in the auto mode. This is the run and gun. I don't really care about cameras. I just want to shoot cool stuff mode. It's pretty straightforward. You've got the W here. You can switch between your 2 cameras if you're on an iPhone X like I am. I can find an exposure here and I can hit this lock. And then what happens is as I move it around, it's going to cease doing any auto stuff. So you can actually lock in your auto settings, which is great. So again, if I want to lean forward here, really just point it, get it to the sky, right up there, that's my brightness, and lock it in, and I come back like this, you can see I don't have any more of those zebra stripes. I've ensured that everything is going to stay exposed. The only problem is everything on the inside of my room is dark. So on the flip side, I could go and point it at something in my room, lock it, and then I come back and whoa, everything's way overexposed because I exposed on something that's very, very dark. Something you have in all the modes, if you hit this little, hey buddy, hey, what's up, man? I am heading to post shortly. I can be there 10:30, sure. A Disney? Work just called, so I'm gonna have to pick this up later. To be continued. Be back later. Sorry about that. I gotta tell you, it's pretty tough juggling making a network television show and doing this at the same time. Back in the Lightroom CC, what's great about it is how many more features it unlocks in the Pro mode. All I do is I hit this button that says Auto down here, and I'm gonna switch it to Professional. A bunch of features have been unlocked. So I'm gonna hit this thing that says Second, and I don't want my shutter to be too slow. I don't want things to be blurry. I am going to just slide this slider and make sure, looking up top where it says shutter speed, that I am at, I don't need to be that high, but I could be at like, say, 400. And that means at 400, I'm gonna be able to take a photo with movement and not have any motion blur. I could drop this ISO down, and generally speaking, the lower the ISO, the cleaner the picture. So I'm gonna drop it down till everything's in range. That is fantastic. Okay, so there are a couple more features that I want to go over in the manual mode. You can just click this thing that says exposure, and you can increase or decrease your exposure. You can change your white balance, so WB is white balance, so incandescent. I can hit the sun, I can do cloudy. You can hit this eyedropper, which is kind of interesting, and then you pick something that's like a solid color and hit the check mark, and it's now white balanced to my room. These walls are actually off-white, so it's probably a little bit wrong, but still, that's pretty cool. And then we have this auto button for focus. I can come in really close on this camera, focus on the monitor, and keep the background. Here, let's do it sideways like this. This will be better. And I can get the background nice and blurry, and that looks really good. You can see when you use the manual focus, it does focus peaking, and you can see the green lines, so you really know what's in focus. You can actually get shallow depth of field using an app like Lightroom CC, and what's great about that is you shoot in the DNG format, you're unlocking a world of possibilities. One last mode to look at is this high dynamic range mode. It looks like high dynamic range mode takes 2 photos and is gonna take the highs and the lows and smush them together. Remember I checked that Mark II that says retain original photos, so I'm guessing I have the original photos as well as this combined and merged photo. Other than that, you get a few features here. You can adjust the exposure, the white balance, the focus, and that's about it. Let's take a look at what we can do in the app itself to color grade these photos. It is phenomenal. I'm just gonna go right into the photo gallery. By the way, the coolest thing about Lightroom CC is not only you're gonna see the photos you just took with this app, you're gonna see all the photos on your iPhone, and these are instantly gonna show up in Lightroom CC on your computer if you have it linked to your Creative Cloud account. Also, anything else you dropped in on your computer into Lightroom CC is gonna show up on your phone. The Lightroom ecosystem offers you a way to transfer photos back and forth seamlessly, and that alone is. So I'm just gonna pick one of the images that I took, and right off the bat you can see what's great. There's a histogram up top. This little cloud thing right here with the check mark shows you that it's syncing it. It's automatically syncing this DNG file to the cloud so that I can use it on my computer. You can pinch zoom in on it, all the normal stuff you'd imagine that you can do. You can do like ratings and reviews and activity and keywords, and honestly, I don't use any of that stuff. Sometimes I'll check on info, because info gives you a lot of good info, like the f-stop, the ISO, the shutter time. Now we're back in the editing view, and let's go through what we can do to edit this thing. Crop is really self-explanatory. You can crop and rotate and flip, and actually a lot of other apps can't flip images, and this one can, so that's kind of cool. Something I just noticed that's really cool is that even though I shot this in the 1:1 square aspect ratio, because it's a DNG, it retains all the information. So if you look and you go into the crop section, I actually have my top and bottom. Now I feel a lot better about shooting in that 1:1 mode for Instagram, because I can actually go back in and reframe things if I want to. There's a preset section, and I'll admit there's not that many presets in it. I still personally think VSCO has better presets. You can hit the auto button and it'll automatically do what it thinks is right, but I'm gonna hit undo because I never use auto anything really. So now come the really interesting ones to me. We've got light. Light is awesome, and I'm gonna give you the #1 reason, my favorite reason for using this app more than anything right now, and that is that if you hit this curve button, you get, honest to God, just like Photoshop, just like Lightroom, curves right on your phone. I don't know any other apps that implement curves this well on an iPhone or mobile phone in general. For some reason it defaults to the blue curve, which I don't want, but I'm gonna hit over here and I have my luminance curve, and I can tap and literally just start making a nice luminance curve for my image. I can bring in the mids if I feel like I want to have more of a background. I can darken it a little bit, lose my sky if I want to. I can keep my sky in. I feel like I want to bring my sky down. Or I can actually go into the blue curve and, let's say, add a little bit of blue to the blacks and pull out a little blue in the highlights and get that like yellow blue kind of look that everyone loves so much. Curves, bam, amazing. #1 reason to use this app. On top of curves, you've got all the standard stuff you would find in Lightroom. You can just adjust the exposure slider. You've got your contrast if you want to go for high con or low con. You can get rid of your highlights. You can save your highlights, bring it back down. You can do shadows up and down, whites and blacks. So you get everything that you get in Lightroom CC on your phone. Now I'm going to pop into color. It is ridiculous what you can do here. You can hit the BW button. Instantly you're working on a black and white image. You can always look at your original image by just pushing down and holding down on the image that you've worked on, so you can do a quick comparison. In terms of the color stuff, you've got your color temperature, warm and cool. You've got your tint, green and magenta. You've got your vibrance. Vibrance is some kind of magic Adobe wizardry that I use cautiously. Saturation, again, use it cautiously, but looks pretty cool right here. This mix button up here, so this is another cool thing. I can pick a color like oranges and I can say change my oranges. So let's look at blues, for example. I change the hue. I can rack the hue on my sky because there's a lot of blue in it. I can desaturate my sky or add saturation in my sky. There's another little thing here, which is if you hit this little joystick button sort of up top, you go into this even cooler mode where I can actually tap on something like, say, my sky, and then I can actually move my finger up and down and left and right to change the color selectively right there. The effects section has some more crazy wizardry from Adobe. We've got clarity, which is like a kind of a weird sharpen thing to me. Dehaze is another like Adobe magic thing. I actually find that it's kind of cool if you can actually introduce haze. You can introduce a little fog, or you can go the other way and sort of get rid of fog, but I almost kind of like adding a little fog. And then you've got your traditional vignette where you can darken the edges and you can change the midpoint and the feather and the roundness of your vignette. Whew, guys, this is a mouthful. I'm like running out of breath just talking about all this stuff. In Selective, you hit the little plus in the top corner, you can grab, say, like this paintbrush, and I can paint an area that I want to affect. Like, let's say I just want to kind of affect this part of my image. What I want to do is, let's say, make it lighter or darker. I can go to my exposure and I'm only affecting the exposure in the area that I just painted, and the contrast, etc., etc. I can go into color, and let's say I want to warm up everything out there. Look at that. I can do a nice little warmth effect, maybe a little green or a little magenta to it. Ooh, I like a little magenta. Saturate it a bunch. I am totally losing light, so that means it is time for this video to end. If you guys know the drill by now, if you like my channel, feel free to subscribe, feel free to tell your friends, feel free to tell the world. If you don't like my channel, I'm sorry I wasted your time. You probably didn't stick around to watch this much of the video. All right, guys, keep creating, go out and make stuff. I will see you in the next video.